Hello and welcome to Codecast, the podcast that aims to give you a glimpse into the world of code coding schools. Join us for interviews with school alumni, current students, industry visionaries and other fascinating guests. I'm your host, Preet Goff. Enjoy! In this Codecast episode, we talk to Agur Jõgi from Pipedrive about why code coding school alumni stand out during recruitment interviews and about the future of software development. Code Jõhvi graduate Fred will share his experiences from a recent defense hackathon, and fellow code alumnus Lucas tells us how his newly acquired skills have helped him in his role as a junior software engineer. Enjoy! And it's my great pleasure to say a very warm welcome to Agur, who's joining us live via video feed from Pipedrive. Hello, Agur. How are you?
Yeah, hey, I'm really pleased to be here, and thanks for inviting me to the show. It's pleasure to be part of such a honored program.
Great to have you here. Let us start by introducing yourself with a few words. I know you could go on for 20 minutes or even more, but let's try to keep it a little bit more briefer.
Yes, if anyone is interested in more details, then just find me on LinkedIn and let's become friends, or just read through my bio there. But my general background is technology management. I've been in different industries, in banking, in telecom, in IT business. There are interesting companies in my CV, starting from Estonian Telecom, Skype, Deloitte, and now I think it's already fourth year. I'm filling a role of CTO in Pipedrive, and that's probably the topic I can explain and cover best, as that's my daily job.
But let's go straight into that and tell us a few things about Pipedrive. What it is, what does it do, how should we eat it, how should we feel about it?
Pipedrive is a SaaS-based sales CRM with a very clear focus on a sales job. The CRM is pretty broad. It's everything about relationship management. Then Pipedrive have selected since day one the focus on making it smoothest tool to be used by salespeople and by sales teams. So if you have a product or a service to sell, then you probably have a pipeline of leads. It probably takes more than just one call or email to get your deal closed. And even if you will close it with a first try, then you want to keep this customer renewing their deals with you. So it all needs quite a bit of management. And what Pipedrive is offering actually a one-page view for you in Kanban style to know where your leads are standing, what's in the form-up stage, what's in the negotiations phase, which is the agreement signing phase, which are the closed deals, which you need to then review at the end of the period with your existing customers already. So it's everything about getting your sales done. For the salespeople, we help you to maximize your monthly sales bonus. For companies, we help you to know what's your sales funnel and what's the future outlook of your sales team performance.
Okay, so it's a software as a service. So this means that quite a lot of effort goes into actually keeping the software running. But I understand that you're actually one of the largest employers in the world of tech in Estonia, at least.
Globally, probably not. I think that Amazon and Chinese Railway are slightly a bit bigger.
But at least in Estonia.
But at least in Estonia, we're about 800 people. Company spread, I think about 8 locations. The most recent where we are building up our presence is Australia, but we're mostly Europe-based. We have a few offices also in the US, and we serve customers in over 180 countries. So we pretty much have customers all around the world, and that kind of explains the magnitude and of the business, and we're truly like 24/7 because someone is always awake and does the sales.
Okay. And of these 800 people, how many are actually involved in writing code and doing the software development bit?
If you're focusing purely on the product development side, then slightly over 200 engineers are daily related to a product. Then we have another 50 to 80 engineers like supporting our marketing activities, our internal sales activities, making company, Pipedriver's company to be really digital and automated. So the engineering cohort, all in all in the company, including also design and product management people, I would say it's, I think, close to 400. If you look purely at the product and software development, then it's about 200. So nearly half of the company can call themselves to some extent as an engineer.
Okay. And now for the crucial question, how many of them are CodeGeoffrey graduates?
Oh, I don't know the exact number, but we have really many of them, and some of them have been like onboarding so smoothly that we probably have even forgot that they're coming from CodeGeoffrey, as that's a really great talent that comes out from the CodeGeoffrey program. But I think it's something close to 10 plus minus. And if you think that the software development is 200, including also our engineering managers and leadership, maybe the software development itself is like 150, 160, then it's between 5 to 10% of our population. I think it's pretty significant.
That is rather remarkable indeed. Is there anything that you can highlight that would actually describe the coding school graduates in a way that sets them apart from other candidates?
It's not necessarily that sets apart, but it's rather that if you're working with CodeGeoffrey graduates, then we know that certain qualities we can count on always. Are like self-driven, willing to learn, staying focused on the topic, and coming with already existing practical skills, which is really important, as that enables you to onboard way faster, and coming with just theoretical skills compared coming with real practical skills. But being like kind of being self-driven, I think it's the main quality. Like people from CodeGeoffrey, they're curious, they're asking questions. They don't have like these like kind of weird blockers, or like I'm so young I can't ask this question, or like I'm just intern or junior, and then how I can go to senior or to director. They just go because they want to get things sorted. So and that's really refreshing and really good.
Oh, you were talking about going from junior to senior, and I understand the context in which you mentioned that, but let's put that in another context. How can a junior go from junior to senior in a career path?
In Pipedrive, we have really well described, pretty extensive career path for our engineers. It starts from an intern level. Then it moves to a few levels of juniors, then a few levels of mid-level engineers, then the senior level, and there people will select also if they are willing to build their future track into the people management, so becoming like engineering managers and then team leads at one moment, or they want to be more focused on really true engineering and becoming an principal level engineers slash architect type roles. And for each level, we have described actually several metrics which always include behavioral metrics. So how we expect a person to work with a team, to work with more junior people, and part of the coaching and educating newer colleagues is part of that track, and then also the professional skills, like on each level, junior, mid, senior, principal. You need to possess both. There must be leadership skills, there must be, and personality skills. There must be also like professional skills. We would actually see that those like people and behavioral skills are way more important for us while we are selecting new team members to Pipedrive, because that's kind of thing which is pretty difficult to change, as people are coming with a Kinderstube from their homes, from their school, from their previous companies, and then they are kind of learn certain lessons, and they accept and then take this behavioral pattern as something that have made them successful so far. So it's difficult to change. While technical skills, it's easy to teach and re-educate, because technologies keep changing. So you need to learn those skills constantly, and then update your current skills. So it is a very clear path here in Pipedrive. If you join the company, then your engineering manager will explain to you in pretty detailed way that what you need to do to be promoted to a next layer.
Well, we talked about the technological flux that's happening around us all the time, and due to this and the advent of the artificial intelligence age and what else not, then there has been more and more talk about, perhaps artificial intelligence will replace junior developers, and who needs them, and will there be enough jobs for them? But if we don't get junior developers, where will the seniors come from? So what's your take on that?
I think that the requirements, the different levels simply will change with technology. Like if we will take a century or a bit more back, then all the goods were delivered with horses, and then there were drivers driving those horses or the carriages, and then the cars started to appear, and then there are still drivers. Just more goods can be delivered faster. And then I think that's pretty much the same also with software development and engineering. There are still like your early days, then your middle days, and then your senior days. Just an expectations are probably changing. And you're absolutely correct. There must be juniors, otherwise there will be no seniors. Though the interesting challenge, I think that we might see. We haven't seen it, or maybe a bit have seen also in Pipedrive, but I would expect to see some signs and read some stories globally also, is that but who are actually learning this new technology faster, because principals and seniors, they have a long history, and then they have a lot of knowledge about how to write code, and how to write a performing code, and how to write a secure code, and they have like pretty clear standards in their heads. And today, probably most of the AI, and at least if the juniors are using the AI, can't produce necessarily the exactly production grade code yet. So you need some current or yesterday's engineering brain to make the next generation code or AI generated code to be production ready. But we've seen also like how fast the AI world is moving, and how fast the models are learning, and I think that pretty soon there will be a break even where even juniors can start building nearly production close, and maybe on some circumstances, like if it's like limited customer size or not so regulated market, and maybe not so high volume of concurrent users. So if the requirements are slightly slower, then maybe the AI will start producing pretty soon kind of okay-ish code. And then we can see that maybe juniors are are moving even faster. And then those juniors at one moment will start developing their company, more customers, maybe more regulations, and then that's how they are learning to use this tooling to become senior AI native seniors. We have today's seniors and principals who are adopting AI into their existing way of thinking and their way of working if they see it reasonable. And like ChatGPT was launched on November 30, 22, so 3 years ago, which means that we have the first cohort of the university graduates who are so-called AI native. They've been going through the university during the AI era, and after a few years, there will be first cohorts coming out of university who started coding during their secondary school already with AI tools, and then they got graduated from university as an AI native engineer. So I think that the picture will be changing quite fast, and today's juniors might become seniors really quick thanks to models developing so fast.
But you talked about these AI natives, the younger programmers who are coming to join us, you at this stage. But can you identify whether there are some already identifiable differences between people who have just joined you just recently, who are AI natives and who have been around, who've been studying while AI has been taking over the world, and between those who, let's say, graduated 5 years ago before AI became so widespread?
Yeah, we've seen the first juniors joining us and asking that, why don't you use these tools? Because I know only those tools, because I've never seen some ancient technologies. But I think that's not the main topic, at least not yet today. And in Pipedrive, I think that we see today exactly this changing phase where juniors are learning more to use those AI tools. We always do the peer reviews, and mostly the seniors do the peer reviews. And seniors see also that, of course, AI generates way more code. So the peer review becomes more complex. And maybe 6 months ago, it was pretty boring work, like to push back all the code because it was nice and long, but not very good one. Then now, what I see in our internal Slack channels is that seniors and principals keep coming back with comments that I still spend more time on code review than before the AI, but today I'm also learning from that, because AI has become already smart enough that sometimes it suggests such elements in the code which I wasn't aware of. So from boring job, it started to become even the educational, or at least partly educational, for seniors, and that's interesting to see that how that evolves, and then thanks to that, seniors become even stronger, and like doing those peer review cycles, the juniors will also learn rather quickly what are their blind spot if they keep trusting AI too blindly. So the change cycle is happening still. There will be juniors, there will be me, and there will be seniors also in the future. I don't believe that AI will replace junior developer. Just the definition of being junior keeps changing over the time.
Well, that's very encouraging to hear. But my final question would be really, what kind of words of wisdom would you be able to pass on to anyone who at the moment is listening to this podcast and thinking whether to join Koodjõi or Koodjärva or Koodvõru or any other coding school around the world, or whether to stay behind and let AI take care of everything?
You definitely need to join the Koodjõi because the current AI only as good as what's available in the world, as the AI and models are learning from the existing world and then not yet generating the logical intelligent world by themselves. Join the engineering now to build the AGI world that will follow after the current cycle, and then that's very very challenging and the interesting change that waits us there, and then why to use like Koodvõru, Koodjõi. I think it's primary that the reason is that school does very close partnership with really top-notch software companies, including Pipedrive, but not only. There are many other same level or even better partners for the school, and then that enables students to obtain the practical understanding of the future work, but also the potential value that this software developer as a job can bring to company, and I think that's huge. That's so much undermined by traditional universities, and that's really important to enable the smooth transition from the school years into your professional life, and then maybe just the small hint again, like for young people, that probably doesn't sound so encouraging, but I would say that read the classical literature, read poems, know more words, know the beauty of the language, because if you will get things done with one prompt, then you will beat those who need to spend like 20 prompts. I'm not saying that 20 prompts is slower than one prompt, but it's also way more expensive. And then the art of the prompt building is like we used to have in the history a time of like were those beautiful poems and like that was everything. And then we've been like talking about it's all about engineering. Let's get man on the moon and back alive. And I think that now we see how those two worlds are merging together. Like it's just knowing the language is not enough. Your prompt must be analytically correct and systematically correct as well. But the language must be rich also, because then you can express what you exactly expect out of the AI. So that's, I would say, where you need to put focus, and maybe the classical literature classes must be added to Koodjõi curriculum besides pure coding.
I think that's a very interesting take, and words that we should definitely take into account here as well. So, but thank you very much for joining us today, and I wish that you will have many more successful people joining you from coding schools in the future as well. I wish nothing but the very best for you. Thank you, and we'll speak again soon.
Thank you.
Good morning, and I'm joined here in the studio by Fred. Welcome to the studio, Fred. How are you today?
Hello, I'm doing well.
Okay, that's good to know. Tell us about your background for a bit.
So right now I'm studying at Koodjõi. I'm a Batch 5 student, and before I have done like many various things, like studying psychology, done a little bit coding on my own, and through all this I finally ended up at Jõhvi.
Okay, but we'll get to your studies at Koodjõi a little bit later, but the reason why we've invited you to the studio today is to actually have you talk about an event that you participated at in June, which seems to be a very interesting thing. I think it was the Defense AI Hackathon organized by Estonian Business School and the Ministry of Defense of Estonia, and your team took part in that. Is that not so?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And first of all, why did you think of actually joining this AI hackathon? What gave you the idea to become a part of that?
Well, actually, I really like the hackathons in general. I have participated multiple hackathons before, and the experience actually provides some concrete meaning to what I'm actually doing in school. So when I'm studying something, hackathon gives me a way to actually put all my skills into practice. And the Defense AI Hackathon, it seemed to be really fascinating place to be in a way. They had interesting topics, and this time I got myself a team as well, 2 other Code students. And
how did you hear about this hackathon in the first place?
Actually, it was in Code Discord channel.
Okay. And so you decided to form a team with your schoolmates and take part in this?
Exactly.
Okay. And what was the problem that you aimed to solve there? Or actually, before we get to the problem part, why don't you talk us through the process? How did the event actually work out? I understand that it took 72 hours altogether. What happened during those 72 hours?
So the first day basically was just for team formation. Even though beforehand it was already said find your teams, set up the problem, what you are gonna solve. But still the first day was spent on figuring out what you actually gonna solve during these 72 hours and who will be your teammates.
Okay. And then?
After that, we basically started solving the problem. We chose logistics as a theme. And even though in the beginning we were intending to make AI command system for the defense force, but it turned out that actually right now using phones in the military is somewhat not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to scratch our initial idea, and through speaking various mentors, we found a different niche what we're gonna solve. And we decided to actually work on basically logistics system for the defense force.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to work from all the way to soldiers, all the way up to division. But since again the phones are not allowed for soldiers, we basically did still something, because it seems we have to be future-proofing ourselves as well. We cannot only focus on what has been done in the past, since in Ukraine they actually use phones in the battlefield as well. So to expect that Estonia will keep phones out, it might happen, but I would not bet on that.
Mm-hmm.
And if they want, I have a solution for that as well.
Okay. But your logistics solution, what did that entail?
So basically we were working on figuring out how much resources each battalion has, how long it will last, and making it really streamlined so that everything can be ordered automatically when it needs to be done. So to minimize the human input, and also to make it clear how long it lasts. And actually, it's like rather like complicated problem to solve. It changes how the resources are being depleted depending on the situation. And situations are always dynamic in themselves as well. So there is not like two exact situations exactly alike.
Okay. And throughout the 72-hour process, how did your idea evolve from vision to actual products?
It was rocky road.
I can imagine.
Since like multiple times, really, like there were like mentors, and actually like this time I was really impressed by the mentors. They actually knew what is going on. They gave us like quality feedback, and it was like a first time that actually hackathon did that. Usually they just provided like a general advice, but this time it was like experts were like for us to like actually question like what problems they have, what are the issues, like how can we solve it? And through this interaction with these mentors, we constantly like refined the idea, how we, what we're gonna do, how we're gonna do it, and would it actually be like doable? And throughout the process, we mainly focused on the front end, since the back end actually would need that we have the like real data, and the real data is
classified.
Exactly. But still, we could like show what is the potential, what can be done. Like, give us the back end, give us the like not even back end, give us the data, and we will visualize it. We will make it like clear, understandable. Streamlined. Like we even like focused on like ordering. Like what happens like if in the supply chain like one supplier just goes down. Like these are the things that actually like need to be focused on beforehand. Like there need to be some kind of backup plans in place. And if the backup plans are designed into the system, like it makes the switching to like different supplier way easier. And this is like actually the time when it matters the most.
Absolutely. So, but by the end of these 72 hours, how did you actually end up ranking in the overall results?
We don't know actually.
You don't know?
So basically it was just like first, second, third place, some special prizes.
Okay.
We did not get any.
Okay.
But it also seemed that like our like solution was really specialized, and the judges like did not have actually like clarity what it means. But later, like afterwards, like one military guy came to us and said like, "Oh, actually, I have like really good idea," and he gave us contacts with like. Logistics battalion basically. And like a couple of weeks ago we went there and we showed the product, we talked what are the issues, and actually it seemed that our solution is like a pretty good match in a way.
Okay. So instead of winning some trophies and prizes that you could stick away in your cupboard, you're actually looking at potentially a military contract with the Estonian Defence Forces.
I hope so, yeah.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Really, okay. That's really exciting. So when you were doing all this problem solving there, did you rely on any of the skills that you picked up from Code Jõhvi as well?
Of course. I think that school focuses on their projects. It makes it so much easier to actually like complete a project in a hackathon as well. If I have just done some like algorithmic exercises, then when I have to make some kind of application and show it, that would be extremely difficult. But since all the tasks right now that we are doing at Code Jõhvi are like full projects with like front and back and like everything included, so that we basically could deploy our solution. We have actually been like given pretty good foundation to do like similar things in a short timeline.
Okay. So, but reflecting on your experience at CodeJoffe so far, how would you describe the experience overall?
I would say that actually it's difficult. But the difficulty is that we have to motivate ourselves. The coding is like really structured in itself, but the school environment, like there is no structure. Like we have to manage our time on our own. But at the same time, like it is difficult, but it also is more aligned with real life. Like if I start a company, then it's like unreal to expect that there will be some kind of teacher saying like, why it's not done. We have to have the like internal motivation, and part of the school like process is to find my own flow, like how I actually work, or like what drains the motivation, what gives motivation. And like another part is like the projects are like too big to do on my own. So like later part of the course, there are like 4 big projects that all have to be done in the teams. And there is then another layer of complexity, like how do I manage like teamwork? And this is also difficult. Like we all have like some different kind of assumptions how things should be. And getting it clear, like how, like what I want to do, what others want to do, how we divide the tasks, and like how we get things done. Like it is difficult, I would say, but at the same time, it's really rewarding. And again, if I go to real life, again, there is like rarely working like solo. It's mostly in teams.
How did the teamwork dynamic work out during the hackathon?
In the hackathon,
did you have different roles assigned to yourselves?
Yes. Basically, I was basically a manager in a way. I did the back end. I was focusing on the big picture, what kind of things we can use. And 2 other teammates, they were working different parts of the front end. One was like high up logistics system, and second was like the soldier focus.
Okay.
Like when a boot gets lost, how can the soldier get a new boot? How the process can be streamlined? Because right now it's usually like 7 steps, or like 7 people who have to go through the process of one soldier getting a new boot. And it could be way simpler.
So you have actually found a way how to simplify that process by eliminating the chain of command of 7 people from the middle of that.
Yes. But at the same time, it's like, would the military actually be willing to use that? Because there is the command chain is there for a reason. They all have some kind of purpose. But I imagine that like not all military personnel wants to spend their time in looking like requests for getting like equipment replaced.
That's true. But coming back to your CodeJoffe days then, you started, was it early this spring?
I started last autumn.
Okay, last autumn. So you've done this for about a year now.
Yes.
Okay, so you're getting close to the final stretches now.
Mm-hmm.
And you've done this on-site or off-site?
I'm on site.
Okay, in Jõhvi actually.
Exactly.
How has that experience been for you? I mean, the social aspects of that, living in a dormitory and things like that. How would you reflect on that?
I would say that the social life is like nice. I'm also like now in a student council, so I get to say like what is going to happen, and to have this kind of potential to say word in is valuable, because so far like the events mostly have been fun, but at least I had like longing to have some kind of coding related events as well. And the like dormitory, I would say that like 5 people in a one room is a lot. It is actually like rather difficult for me, even for like being most of the time it has just been like 2 people, but we all have like so varied sleep schedules that to have like a good night rest without anyone interrupting is rare.
Okay, but any other challenges besides the sleeping patterns that you've encountered so far?
Actually, I would say just to have like a space for my own. This is difficult.
But from I'm thinking more in terms of the learning aspects.
Learning aspects, I would say no. Like of course, the problems that we are solving have some like issues. They are not perfect. But at the same time, to expect that the client's description of the task that they're going to give is perfect is also unreal. It's something we have to deal with. So it's like the difficulty is natural, and that's actually it's welcome in the process. Though I would like if the like testing would be more clear, because sometimes it's like I do exercise in a one way, but the tester interprets the question differently. And then who is right? Do I have done just my thing around, but at the same time there is always some kind of frustration, like,
of course,
I don't like it, or like why they are doing it like that. But having like clear descriptions of the test or what exactly is needed would make it easier to have like some common ground.
It's perfectly understood that problem solving without problems would not probably be problem solving. But I'll just wrap things up by asking you a very simple question, which I usually conclude most of these interviews with. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
In 5 years' time, I think I'll be entrepreneur by that time.
With a particular focus?
Right now, I see that there is so much potential in using AI for creating various solutions, and I'm really fascinated how like technology and psychology go together.
Indeed, that's a good point.
And I hope to create something that would actually make use of the AI in a way that it would be like beneficial for people.
That's a very noble thing to think about when you're starting your career as an entrepreneur. So I wish you will keep that in the back of your head always, and I wish you nothing but the very best for the future. So thank you very much for joining us in the studio today. Thank you, and we'll speak to you again soon, I hope.
Okay, thank you.
Hello and welcome to Codecast. Lucas, how are you this morning?
I'm pretty good.
That's
Excited.
good to hear. Tell us about yourself.
So before I was a programmer, I was a musician. Like, was playing since I was 7. Started with guitar, and then I was 14. Started writing songs, and then like went into an institution to learn music, but like it didn't fit me. I burnt out. So like I was like kind of wandering around a lot. Like was trying to find what I like because like it was all music before that. And then I found Kodjefi, and like it really the studying I guess format really meshed with me. I really liked it. And then I don't know how far I should go with this explanation, but
as far as you wish.
yeah, it really meshed with me. Like the people were really like everyone was so different. There wasn't like one standard sort of person. I really liked that. Also, like the format of you have like a community, and like everyone's your teacher and your potential student in a way. That was really cool because I really like teaching as well. And then I found like really awesome people. Like I really liked doing something together with people. Like homework for me is kind of hard. I don't like doing something alone, like having to manage it myself. So doing something in a group, which is like kind of what Kodjefi is built on in a way, in my eyes. So yeah.
Did you have a knack for programming or coding or real sciences before you joined Kodjefi?
I was quite good at like maths as a kid. In music school, like that part wasn't really focused on, so it was out of practice when I came. But like I was also like interested in coding because I was playing like lots of video games. So like I don't know, doing stuff on computer programming is doing stuff on the computer. I felt like that might have been something. So I did like try like bits and pieces before I applied. So I wouldn't say I was like completely from zero, but like I didn't really have any formal knowledge or like skills before.
Did your passion for music help you in any way?
That's a good question. I feel like when I came to Kodjefi, my passion for music was kind of like stifled. Like that was gone. So I was like kind of passionless in a sense. So it was like really fertile ground to find like something new. And like I still love making music. Like I'm still trying to find my way back to like really loving music again and making music. But like coding has like taken up a good portion of like what I really like to do now.
Any similarities there between writing music and writing code?
The first things that come to mind are like differences. But like because music is very creative for me at least. There's no like end goal usually unless you like set it yourself, and that can like change as well. And you're kind of like for me, I was kind of going through the flow, like trying to find what fits with what in terms of like making music. I like that with programming. I want this to do that, and then like finding my way there. Like I always have the end goal like in view. So that's like the difference that I like. I don't know how similar they are. Maybe the collaboration, if you're in a band or you're in a team, that's like, but that's like not necessarily programming. I feel like that's a lot of things in life.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. You were part of the third cohort that graduated from Kodjefi. So when was that? When did you actually graduate?
I graduated last month.
Last month?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a very fresh experience.
Yes.
And did you spend your time on the campus actually in Juffi, or did you do this online?
I did like pretty much all of it online.
Okay.
I feel like I did experience like the Kodjefi life because I was tech tutor for like 2 times. And then I went to visit like all the events and stuff. So I knew people who were on site, and like I feel like I got a taste of the life on site, but like most of it was from my home on Discord with the group that I started my sprint with.
Okay. And do you still keep in touch with your group?
Yeah.
Okay. You do stuff together?
We stuck together, like most of us. Like it wasn't like set in stone. Like sometimes like because we were like 6 people, 7 people. Sometimes like the group like broke in 2 and they came back together, or someone like went further ahead. Someone went like took more time. But like mostly I speak to all of them still, like occasionally. Like some of them I'm really, really good friends with now.
Okay, that's good to know. Any key takeaways from your time at Kodjefi? I mean, or let me rephrase this in another way. What was the main thing that you found out about yourself that you weren't aware of before?
I felt like before I had really bad like study habits. I didn't really have study habits. To be fair, like when I was in middle school, I kind of just it was easy enough that I was able to just show up and like do it. And then like when I went to music school, like everything was much harder. Like all of a sudden, like I had to do things on a professional level that like I wasn't used to. So like I dropped out of that school like on the last year. So like coming back to KJFI now and then like finding something I'm interested in, and then like there's no one forced us to do any of the projects. Basically, there were like really big deadlines that were like really far away, which like I would have expected me to like really not be able to handle, but I didn't even think about them. I was somehow able to like every day work on something, which was really great for me. So like that was my personal gain that I really liked.
So it was an interesting journey for you.
Oh yeah. I feel like when I started KJFI, and like now I'm a completely different person, like in a good way.
It has changed your life.
I would say so. Yeah, that sounds like very grand and like puts like big hopes on the school, but for me that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you actually now work as a programmer.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us more about the company that you work for? And what
I work for Inslee, which it does insurance software. And so like the team I'm working in now is basically doing all kinds of AI focused projects with kind of like research and development. The company really wants to like explore the possibilities of AI in the insurance space. So like I work with a lot of like AI technologies and tools. And
how did you come across that job?
I was sending out like CVs, and then I got a recommendation. Like so, yeah, through connections.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you actually apply the skills that you picked up in KJFI in your day-to-day work now?
Yeah, like for sure. I feel like when I came there, all of my skills were from KJFI. So like I applied all of them. Like yeah, now I've been there for like about a year now, so I've picked up more skills. Like some skills maybe like have been upgraded. But yeah, like database design, front end, back end, all this stuff that like I use daily.
Do you have any recommendations for KJFI about whether they should change their or update their curriculum in order to make you even more prepared for any jobs out there?
It's like kind of hard question to answer because batch 3 was the last batch with a different system, so they're on a new system now.
Okay.
So I don't really know what the curriculum is like. And when I was a tech tutor, I did see like the development of it, and I feel like I did give basically what I thought was wrong with the system, but like I feel like it's good. You learn the back end and you learn the front end and you learn like the full stack stuff. That's like the basics, and like whatever specialty you're interested in, you should get to choose. So I feel like the system in that way is pretty good currently.
Okay. What about personal characteristics and personal traits that you find are absolutely definitive, or if you want to become a programmer, if you want to be successful at it?
I think you have to like something about programming. There are so many different people who, like, even at my job at school, all of them can program, but you have to be interested in it to learn it, to be able to do it like 8 hours, not 8 hours straight, but like every day. I feel like you just have to be interested in it.
Okay. And it seems that you definitely are interested. But let's talk more about your current role. And you mentioned that you work together with lots of new AI technology and things like that. So so what's your take on the current state of affairs when it comes to artificial intelligence?
I feel like I use it at work every day. So like I don't think it's gonna. I think it is gonna change. Like I feel like it already has changed. Like a lot of how I work, how a lot of people around me work. Like I think maybe half of the code generated, half of the code that I commit is generated. Then I review it, and I feel like a lot of people who do writing based work can use it to like speed up their work. Like all my younger friends or my like brother's friends, they use it in school. So I feel like it has changed. But I don't think it's gonna take away any like programming jobs, because I use it every day, and it's still like it still needs help. I feel like the AI can get like 80% of the way there, and this is also in like I have looked at different fields like music AI. It gets 80% of the way there, but like this last 20%, it needs like a human input to steer it or like correct it or like even give the correct first input.
Of course.
Yeah.
But what kind of tools are you using on a day-to-day basis?
Like in terms of AI,
Yes.
Copilot.
Okay.
It's on agentic mode. So basically, it's you can put in a prompt. It sees like whatever files you have open and like whatever files you give to it, and then it can edit them. It can like read extra files that you did not give it. It can run commands in the terminal. Like it has like kind of free will. Depends on how much you give it. You shouldn't give it everything, but it's kind of like pair programming in a way, but with someone that doesn't ask questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't look at AI as a slave, but really more as a partner.
I don't know if it's a partner. I think I look at it like kind of like an intern who doesn't really care that much, but just wants to get the task done. So like if depends on how well I give the input, how well I ask it to do something, it's going to do pretty much how I say. So if I miss something, it's not going to do it, or it might do it, but that's like unsure.
But where is it going to go from here? I mean, artificial intelligence is developing so rapidly. What will be the outcome of the situation, let's say 3 years from now?
I feel like it's moving so fast that it's really hard to say. I feel like most of the innovation right now is in implementation. So the models, I don't think they have got much better in like the last year compared to like what it was at the beginning. This exponential growth, I feel like that has stopped. But like the implementation is what's going to change. Like the more different ways to use the existing models that can help.
But what about the 80-20 ratio that you mentioned before, that 80% of the work is done by AI and it still needs the 20% human input? Do you think that ratio will change in the future? It's going to be 95-5 or something different?
I feel like these are like really big questions. And I feel like it's going to change in a year. So if I give an answer, it's going to be like, oh, he's wrong. But I think it may. It also depends on at what level you are in the, like, I feel as a junior developer, if you look at the AI product or like the thing AI produces, it's already really good if you are a junior. If you're mid-level, you're going to see that missing 20%. I think if you're a senior, a lot of them don't really like AI maybe, or they think it's crap, or they're probably faster themselves. So I think it will change. Like I think the level of AI will increase, but like I don't think it's ever going to be fully autonomous.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
It does make perfect sense. But this is a standard question that I ask from pretty much everyone. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
I think I'm still going to be programming for sure. I also have like other things I want to try. In terms of music, in terms of like trying something completely different, maybe like I've had an idea of going to study psychology at some point.
Okay.
So I want to keep things open, but like I know that programming is what I like. I'm good at it. Like there's like endless things to learn, which I really enjoy. So yeah, probably programming. Maybe at the same company, maybe at some other company.
But in terms of role, you certainly don't want to remain as a junior developer.
That for sure, yeah. That's a good question. I feel like, in my mind, there's like two ways to go about it. You go like the programming route, and you really dive into that, and you become like a senior and the staff and principal and all this. Or there's the team lead route, or like working with people and like not really being inside the code all the time. I feel like for me the team leading is more interesting, or working with people is like is the more interesting part. In Code.jf I also was like for many projects organizing the study sessions, you could say, or like organizing how we're gonna split the work, and I really enjoyed that.
how are you going to upgrade your skills in order to qualify for senior positions in the future?
I feel like a good question to ask like your project manager or product manager is like, what can I do that you feel is missing? Asking that question, finding out where my flaws are in the eyes of someone who is at this maybe senior position that I want. Following my interest as well. Like I'm under no illusion that I have mastered anything in terms of programming. So yeah, following my interests, asking for feedback, and then not letting my foot off the gas, I feel is also part of it.
That's a very sensible approach to life in general.
Yeah.
But do you have any advice to give to people who are contemplating perhaps joining Code Jõhvi or Code Paide or Code Võru or any of the other code facilities?
I think since the sprint is like you don't really need to put a lot of you need to put a lot of time into it, but other than that, you can go try the sprint. You're gonna get a feel for if you like programming, like for sure. The sprint is not easy. A lot of people, find out there if it's for them or if it's not. If the format is for them, if it's not, that's also like maybe this peer-to-peer learning is not for some people, but programming is. But yeah, I would say try the sprint. Talk to the people there. Find like a group. Try to get into it. Try to understand why something works the way it does, and then I think you will be successful.
Okay. Well, on that very positive note, I think we can conclude this interview. Thank you very much for joining us in the studio today, and
thank you.
Wish you nothing but the very best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Codecast. We hope you enjoyed today's show, and please make sure to visit Code's website for further reading and other episodes. Remember, it's code.tech. Once again, KOOD.TECH. Be seeing you